You won't believe what happened when a smug, overconfident cop mocked a black man for looking homeless, only to realize far too late who he was talking to. It started on a muggy Friday afternoon in downtown Atlanta, where Officer Ryan Carlson was patrolling near Peachtree Street. Ryan was the kind of officer who took pride in cleaning up the streets, but his version of that meant harassing unhoused people, profiling minorities, and flexing his badge where it wasn't needed. He grew up believing he was above certain people, especially people who didn't look like him. So when he saw a tall, bearded black man in a faded hoodie and dusty jeans sitting quietly on a bench outside a luxury coffee shop, Ryan saw what he wanted to see: a vagrant, a loiterer, someone who didn't belong. "Hey, you can't just sit here all day," Ryan barked, strutting up like he owned the sidewalk. The man turned slowly, looked Ryan in the eyes but said nothing. His expression was calm, unreadable. That only irritated Ryan more. "I asked you a question, sir. You buying something, or are you just here to make the paying customers uncomfortable?" The man's voice was deep, calm, and confident. "Is it illegal to sit in public now?" Ryan chuckled sarcastically. "It is when you're scaring off business." The man raised an eyebrow. "Because of how I look?" "Look, don't play games with me. I've seen your type. Probably high, maybe casing the place. You want me to search you?" The man gave a wry smile. "No need. But you might want to think twice before you make assumptions." Ryan stepped in closer, now towering over the man. "Is that a threat?" "No," the man said quietly, "it's a suggestion." Ryan radioed in for backup, convinced he was dealing with an aggressive transient. 10 to 35. Possible disturbance. Black male, mid-30s, refusing to leave private property. The dispatcher responded, "Copy that, Officer Carlson. Backup en route." As Ryan stood over the man, trying to look authoritative, nearby pedestrians began to slow down. A woman in a business suit took out her phone and began recording. "You sure you want to do this in front of a camera?" the man asked. "I got nothing to hide," Ryan scoffed. But the man still hadn't stood up, still hadn't raised his voice, and still hadn't shown any sign of aggression. And yet, Ryan felt himself growing tense. The man had a kind of composure that didn't match his clothes or the assumptions Ryan had made about him. "What's your name?" Ryan demanded. The man smiled. "You first." "I'm Officer Carlson, Atlanta PD. And I'm asking you again, why are you here?" Just then a black SUV pulled up to the curb. A young woman in a blazer jumped out and rushed toward them. "Sir," she called, "I'm so sorry I'm late." She handed the seated man a thick folder and a coffee. Ryan blinked. "Wait, you know him?" She looked at Ryan like he just asked if the sky was blue. "Of course. This is Dr. Jeremiah Cole." Ryan's stomach dropped. "Doctor?" "Yes," she said, raising an eyebrow. "Founder of the Atlanta Institute for Urban Justice." "You're standing on the sidewalk in front of his building." Ryan turned slowly to look at the large glass windows behind him. In his rush to make a judgment, he hadn't noticed the discreet gold lettering etched into the door: Cole Center for Community Empowerment. The man stood up now, taller than Ryan, his posture regal and calm. "You didn't ask my name, Officer Carlson. You just assumed it didn't matter." Ryan stammered. You thought I was homeless," Dr. Cole said gently. "And that gave you permission to harass me, to threaten me with a search, to call for backup." Ryan tried to regain composure. "Look, you were sitting there looking suspicious." "Define suspicious," Dr. Cole said, folding his arms. "Black, quiet, poorly dressed." More pedestrians were watching now. Some were recording. Others were shaking their heads. The young woman turned to Ryan. "Do you even know what the Cole Center does, officer?" I'm not familiar," Ryan muttered. "We fund housing initiatives," she said. "Job placement, legal advocacy, youth programs. Dr. Cole spends half his week working in underserved neighborhoods your department barely touches." Dr. Cole tilted his head. "Funny, isn't it? You came here to push me away from my own building. On the week we announced $1 million investment in rehabilitation programs for ex-offenders. People your system forgot." Ryan's face flushed red. "Look, I didn't know who you were. That doesn't change protocol." "No," Dr. Cole said, his voice still calm. "It just exposes it." At that moment, backup arrived. 2 more officers walked up and looked confused as they saw cameras rolling and a man in business attire now speaking with authority. Everything okay here, Carlson? One of them asked. We've got community partners watching. False alarm, Ryan mumbled. Everything's fine. Dr. Cole extended a hand. Nice to meet you, Officer Carlson. I hope we get to know each other better, under better circumstances. Ryan hesitated, then shook his hand. But it was a weak grip, almost embarrassed. As Dr. Cole walked inside his center with his assistant, Ryan turned to leave, but a voice stopped him. Officer Carlson? It was the woman who'd been recording. Just so you know, I live-streamed the whole thing. Ryan's heart thudded. What? Yep, she said, pocketing her phone. Your precinct's about to be trending. You might want to call your supervisor. Ryan rushed back to his patrol car, heart pounding, mind spinning. He just profiled a respected community leader, and did it on camera. Back at the precinct, it didn't take long before his commanding officer summoned him. You embarrassed this department today, Captain Reese growled. We've got phones ringing off the hook, reporters calling, and a state senator demanding a meeting. Sir, I didn't know who he was. That's the point, Ryan. You shouldn't have to know someone's resume to treat them with basic human dignity. Ryan was suspended with pay pending review. The department released a statement calling the incident regrettable, but by then the video had gone viral. On social media, people were outraged but not surprised. Black Twitter lit up with stories of similar experiences. Ordinary people mistaken for criminals just for existing. Hashtags like #ProfilingJeremiah and #StillHappensEveryday trended for days. Meanwhile, Dr. Cole didn't rant. He didn't sue. Instead, he gave a press conference in front of the very bench where it all happened. This wasn't just about me, he said into the microphones. It's about every young black man who gets stopped and searched on his way to school. It's about every unhoused person treated like they're invisible. It's about power and how quickly it gets misused. That afternoon, donations to the Cole Center poured in. News outlets picked up the story. Local city officials began calling for reforms in street patrol policy. But behind the scenes, something deeper was unfolding. Ryan couldn't sleep. His name was all over the internet, but not in the way he wanted. He tried to justify it to himself. He was just doing his job, right? But something about Dr. Cole's calm dignity haunted him. It reminded him of someone. His own father, who had grown up poor, worked 2 jobs and always said, treat the janitor like the CEO's son. Somewhere along the way, Ryan had forgotten that. So when he saw an invitation in his inbox, a request to attend a community panel at the Cole Center, he stared at it for a long time. Part of him wanted to delete it, pretend it never happened. But another part of him, the part that remembered his father's voice, hit reply. He walked into the panel meeting that Saturday with his head low, unsure of what to expect. Inside, a dozen people sat in a circle. Teachers, youth leaders, business owners, and Dr. Cole. The room went quiet as Ryan stepped in. He cleared his throat. I want to listen. Dr. Cole looked at him, then nodded slowly. Good. That's the first step. For the next hour, Ryan listened as people shared stories. Some had been harassed. Others had sons or brothers who'd been profiled. One woman, tears in her eyes, described how her teenage son was slammed against a wall for wearing a hoodie. Ryan sat silently, absorbing it all. Then finally, Dr. Cole spoke directly to him. You asked me what I was doing outside that coffee shop. The answer is simple. I was waiting for someone, a young man I mentor. His name is Darion. He was nervous about his job interview, so I offered to meet him first. He never showed. Ryan blinked. What happened? Dr. Cole leaned forward. He got arrested. 2 blocks away. For looking suspicious. Ryan's stomach dropped again. Was it one of ours? It was you, Officer Carlson. Ryan's mouth opened, but no words came out. Dr. Cole held up a photo. It was the same young man from earlier, a photo from his school ID. You stopped him, didn't you? Black hoodie, jeans, quiet demeanor. Ryan's hands trembled. He remembered. It was just a brief stop. He asked for ID, made him empty his pockets. The kid seemed nervous, kept stuttering. Ryan wrote him up for resisting and had him taken in. You destroyed his shot at a future that day, Dr. Cole said, voice steady. But now, you have a choice. You can pretend it never happened. Or you can make it right. And that's when Ryan stood up, tears welling in his eyes, and said, I want to make it right, Ryan said, his voice cracking in the silent room, his eyes locked on the photo of Darion. I remember him now. I didn't think he was dangerous, I just assumed he was up to something because he was nervous. I didn't stop to think why. The room was still. Dr. Cole studied him for a long moment, then placed the photo down and leaned back in his chair. Intentions matter, Officer Coulson. But impact matters more. Darion spent 2 nights in lockup. Missed his interview. The company moved on. He was crushed. Told me he wasn't going to apply for anything ever again. Ryan's throat tightened. He sat down slowly, his badge feeling heavier than ever before. Where is he now? He asked. Can I talk to him? Dr. Cole shook his head. He hasn't responded to my calls in over a week. I don't know where he is. For the next few hours, Ryan stayed at the panel, listening, apologizing, not just for Darion but for every time he brushed someone off, every stop he made based on a hunch rooted in bias, not evidence. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't easy. But it was real. That night, he sat alone in his apartment, scrolling through Darion's social media. There weren't many posts, mostly retweets about justice, mental health, and motivational quotes. But one caught his eye. It was a photo of Darion standing outside a building with a caption, "One day I'll work here." The building was the Cole Center. Ryan stared at it for a long time. The next morning, Ryan returned to the Cole Center, not as a cop, but as a volunteer. He walked through the doors in civilian clothes and asked where help was needed. They sent him to the food pantry downstairs, where he spent the day sorting boxes, stacking shelves, and serving meals to families. Every person he met had a story. Some had been locked out of opportunity. Others had been pushed out of housing, work, or education. But all of them had dignity, and for the first time in years, Ryan truly saw it. Days turned into weeks. Ryan showed up every weekend not because anyone told him to, but because he wanted to. Slowly, the community began to trust him, not as a cop, but as a man trying to unlearn his past. But Darion, he was still missing. Dr. Cole said nothing, but the worry in his eyes deepened with each passing day. Then, on a rainy Thursday, Ryan saw him. He was outside the downtown train station, hoodie pulled up, sitting alone on a bench, shoulders hunched. Ryan's heart raced as he approached slowly. Darion? The young man looked up, startled, eyes narrowing when he recognized him. What do you want? He said coldly. To talk, Ryan said gently. To say I'm sorry. Not as a cop. Just as a man who got it wrong. Darion looked away. Sorry doesn't give me back the job I lost. Sorry doesn't erase the mugshot that's now floating around when people Google me. You messed up my life. I know, Ryan whispered. And I'm not asking you to forgive me. But I'm asking you to let me help fix it. Darion scoffed. How? Can you magically make it all disappear? No, Ryan said. But I can talk to the company. I can file for expungement. I can tell the truth on record. That it was a mistake. That it should never have happened. Darion looked at him for a long time, then stood up. I'll think about it. Ryan nodded. That's all I ask. The next day, Ryan marched into the same tech company Darion had applied to and asked to speak with HR. He sat down across from a skeptical hiring manager and told her everything, how he had profiled Darion, how it led to a wrongful arrest, how Darion had done nothing wrong. The manager looked stunned. You're a police officer admitting that? Yes. Publicly if I have to. She leaned back. Well, we did like Darion. He had potential. And if what you're saying is true. Ryan gave her a folder. Dr. Cole had helped prepare it, filled with recommendations, expungement filings, and a signed letter from the Cole Center advocating for Darion's character. We'll review this, the manager said. And thank you. This kind of honesty is rare. Ryan left the office unsure if it would be enough, but feeling lighter. That night he got a text from Dr. Cole. Darion came by today. He said he's thinking about giving the world another shot. Ryan smiled. Change was slow, but it was happening. Then came the unexpected twist. The mayor's office called the Cole Center to arrange a closed-door community policy meeting. They wanted to hear proposals for police reform. Dr. Cole insisted Ryan come. You've seen the system from both sides now, he said. They need to hear that. Nervous but honored, Ryan agreed. The room was filled with city council members, police chiefs, activists, and attorneys. Ryan sat beside Dr. Cole, heart pounding as he shared his story. The room was silent by the end. But the most powerful voice came from Darion, who stood up, still a little unsure but brave enough to say, I'm not just a victim. I'm the future of this city. And I deserve to be seen as more than a threat. The mayor nodded. We need more voices like yours. The city is listening. For the first time in his career, Ryan believed that real change was possible. But as the meeting ended and the room cleared, something strange happened. Dr. Cole's assistant rushed in, pale and breathless. Jeremiah, you need to see this. She handed him a tablet. On the screen was a breaking news headline. Ryan and Darion leaned in to read it. Undercover footage exposes secret police group. Internal chat logs reveal racist messages, targeting of black community leaders. The article showed images, screenshots, messages from a private chat used by a group of rogue officers. And in one image there was Ryan, standing in uniform next to some of the same cops listed in the group. Darion stared at him. Is that you? Ryan's face went pale. Yes, but I didn't know. I had no idea they were doing this. I never saw those messages. Dr. Cole's eyes narrowed. Whether you knew or not, they're going to use this to discredit everything you've done. Everything we've built. I swear, Ryan said, heart pounding, I'm not part of that. I left those guys years ago. I didn't know but it was too late. The press had the story. The video was already circulating. Ryan's face was plastered across the screen next to vile, hateful words he didn't write, but now had to answer for. The assistant whispered, we just got a call. Someone vandalized the Cole Center. Smashed the windows. Spray-painted traitor on the front. And then Dr. Cole's phone rang. He answered, listened quietly, and his face went cold. They've arrested Darion, he said slowly. Again. Ryan's jaw dropped. What? On what charge? Dr. Cole locked eyes with him. They're saying he was involved in a break-in. But this feels like retaliation. Someone's trying to bury this story, fast. And they're coming for all of us. Ryan stood frozen, his pulse racing, the weight of his past now threatening the future he'd just begun to build. What do we do? He asked. Dr. Cole looked at him, voice low but firm. We fight. But first, you need to go back into the precinct. Not as a cop. As a witness. Because if we don't stop them now, they'll destroy Darion, and me, and you next. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift black voices and expose hidden truths. Ryan stood frozen in the center of the Cole Center office, Dr. Cole's words ringing in his ears like thunder. They've arrested Darion. Again. The rain outside tapped hard against the windows as if nature itself was bearing witness to the injustice unraveling. Ryan's hands clenched into fists, anger and dread coursing through his veins. He thought he had redeemed himself. He thought he had helped Darion rise from a broken system. But now it was clear, the system wasn't done with either of them. They're retaliating, Dr. Cole said, his voice low and steady, masking the rage behind his eyes. This isn't just about Darion anymore. It's about silencing us, before the truth spreads. Ryan's chest tightened as the weight of his badge, his silence, and his past associations pressed down on him like a vice. We can't let this happen, he said. Where is he being held? Dr. Cole's assistant pulled up the screen. They've taken him to Central Holding. No formal charges. Just suspicion of burglary at a building near the mayor's residence. Completely fabricated. Ryan grabbed his jacket and stormed out, Dr. Cole close behind. The precinct was swarming with officers, the air thick with tension as Ryan walked through the front door, not as a cop, but as a man ready to burn his bridges for justice. Heads turned. Some of his former colleagues smirked. Others scowled. And a few looked down, unwilling to meet his eyes. He marched straight to the desk. Sergeant. I need to see Darion Price. Now. The sergeant raised an eyebrow. And you are? Former officer Ryan Carlson. He was arrested under suspicion of burglary. I'm here to challenge that arrest and demand access as his legal witness. You ain't his lawyer? No, but I'm the reason he's being targeted, and I'm not leaving until I talk to him. A tense pause filled the room before the sergeant made a call. Minutes later, Ryan was led to a small visitation room. There, Darion sat, hands cuffed to the table, a deep cut above his eyebrow and a swelling bruise on his jaw. Ryan's stomach turned. What the hell did they do to you? Darion looked up with tired, bloodshot eyes. They dragged me out of the Cole Center, man. Said someone matching my description broke into the mayor's office. Didn't even question me, just slammed me into the ground. No proof, no warrant. Nothing. Ryan swallowed hard. I swear to you we're going to fight this. I've already contacted an attorney. And I'm going to the media. Darion laughed bitterly. You think they'll believe you? You're all over that leaked footage standing next to the same officers who set me up. They'll say you're part of it. Ryan's chest burned. I was never part of that group. I swear. I didn't even know it existed. But I'll clear your name if it's the last thing I do. Darion stared at him in silence, then slowly nodded. Then start by proving that break-in never happened. Someone's lying. With that mission seared into his brain, Ryan left the precinct and made a beeline to the building in question, an administrative office near the mayor's estate. It had surveillance cameras installed on every corner. Ryan pulled a few favors with an old contact in the city's IT department and obtained the footage from the night in question. What he found made his blood run cold. At 2:34 a.m., a masked figure broke a rear window, snuck inside and planted something under a desk. But the build of the person was far too bulky to be Darion. Even more damning, Ryan recognized the man's gait. It was Officer Trent Miller, one of the cops outed in the leaked racist chat group. Ryan printed the footage and rushed back to Dr. Cole. We've got him. We've got proof. Dr. Cole watched the video with cold fury. That's enough to file a motion for Darion's release. But it's not enough to bring the whole system down. If we want real change, we need to expose the entire network. Every name. Every cover-up. Every piece of dirt. Ryan knew what that meant. He would have to go undercover, again. Not as an officer this time, but as a whistleblower. Over the next week, Ryan infiltrated his old precinct, pretending to be remorseful and on their side again. He attended their after-hours bar meetups, rejoined the old group chats, and gained access to the shadow servers where the most toxic conversations took place. What he found was worse than he imagined. The chat logs revealed coordinated harassment, fabricated charges against black youth, and targeted surveillance of community leaders like Dr. Cole. Worse still, there were records of ghost reports, false paperwork filed to justify arrests just like Darion's. One log read, "Price is getting too loud. Time to shut him down before the mayor hears too much." Ryan copied everything. Photos, text, video evidence, voice recordings of officers joking about cleaning up the streets by arresting anyone who didn't look like they belonged. He packaged it all into a secure drive and handed it to a civil rights attorney partnered with the Cole Center. But before they could move forward, the hammer dropped. A fire broke out at the Cole Center. Dozens of people were evacuated safely, but the damage was extensive. Offices were destroyed. Files gone. Equipment lost. And spray painted on the burnt walls were 3 words, "Stay in line." Dr. Cole stood in the ashes, jaw clenched. This is war. That same day the news broke. The police union filed a defamation lawsuit against Ryan for slandering his brothers in blue. The department suspended his pension. Anonymous threats flooded his inbox. But he didn't stop. Darion was released thanks to the surveillance footage, and he stood at Ryan's side in a press conference, publicly denouncing the officers involved and announcing a class action lawsuit. "We're not just demanding justice," Darion said. "We're demanding reform." The mayor, feeling the heat, announced an independent investigation into the precinct and promised sweeping changes, body cam mandates, community review boards, and a review of every arrest made in the last 5 years. It felt like a victory. But the fight was far from over. That night, as Ryan walked home, a dark SUV began tailing him. He took a few turns, changed direction, but the SUV stayed close. He ducked into an alley and pulled out his phone, but there was no signal. Suddenly, the SUV's headlights turned off. The doors opened. 3 men stepped out, faces hidden by hoods, movements deliberate. Ryan's instincts kicked in. He ran, heart pounding, vaulting fences and weaving through alleyways until he stumbled into a busy street. He flagged down a taxi and barely escaped. Breathless, he returned to the Cole Center where Dr. Cole was waiting. "They tried to grab me," Ryan said. "They're getting desperate." Dr. Cole nodded grimly. "We hit a nerve. That means we're close. But now we need to strike the final blow." Ryan pulled out the last piece of evidence he'd been holding back. A recorded phone call between Chief Randall, the head of the precinct, and a city official. On the call, the chief said, "We'll silence Price. Cole Center is a liability. If Carlson keeps digging, we bury him too." Dr. Cole stared at the screen. This is it. This ties them all together. We can take down the entire structure." Ryan nodded. "We go to federal investigators. Not local. Not state. We skip everyone who's compromised." "Agreed," Cole said. But just as they were about to leave, the power in the building flickered, then went out. The emergency lights buzzed on, casting red shadows across the hallway. A voice came over the PA system, one that didn't belong to anyone they knew. It was grainy, but unmistakable. "You should have stayed quiet, Ryan. Now it's too late." Ryan and Dr. Cole froze, eyes wide. The door to the front entrance slammed shut. Locks clicked from the outside. And then, they heard footsteps inside the building. Red emergency lights painted the walls of the Cole Center in a pulsing crimson glow as the heavy footsteps echoed through the hall. Ryan crouched low behind the reception desk, scanning the dim corridor while Dr. Cole grabbed a fire extinguisher as a makeshift weapon. The power was still out. The phones were dead. Whoever had hijacked the PA system knew what they were doing, and they weren't just trying to scare them. They were here to finish what they started. "We need to get to the server room," Dr. Cole whispered. "If they wipe those drives, all the evidence we have against the department will be gone." Ryan nodded, adrenaline surging through him as they slipped quietly down the back hallway. Just before reaching the server room, they spotted the shadow of a man patrolling near the doors, one of the three from the SUV that tailed Ryan the night before. Armed, hooded, and focused, Ryan reached into his pocket and clicked a small voice recorder, just in case they didn't make it out. Then he turned to Dr. Cole. "We split. You hit the alarm trigger under your desk. I'll draw him off." "Are you insane? We don't have time to argue. Go." Ryan stepped into the corridor and whistled loud. The man turned instantly and gave chase, gun drawn. Ryan dashed through a maze of office cubicles, weaving in and out as the man fired a shot that shattered a computer screen inches from his head. Meanwhile, Dr. Cole dove under his desk and hit the manual lockdown alarm. Instantly, hidden shutters began to descend over the doors and windows. Ryan ducked behind a file cabinet, grabbed a chair, and threw it at the man's legs, knocking him off balance just long enough to tackle him to the ground. They fought, fists slamming, bones crunching, until Ryan pinned him down and yanked the hood off. His breath caught in his throat. It was Officer Trent Miller. "You," Ryan spat, rage boiling over. "You set Darion up. You burned this place down." Trent grinned through a bloodied lip. "You think the city cares about him? About you? They'll never believe your story. We own this system." Ryan slammed him again and zip-tied his wrists with a cord from a nearby desk, then dragged him to the front lobby just as Dr. Cole arrived. "Security shutters are down. Police will have to be called manually." "No," Ryan said. "Not yet. We need to find out how many of them are inside." Moments later, a loud bang rattled the rear emergency door. A second assailant, this one dressed in private security gear, was trying to break in. Ryan handed Dr. Cole a flash drive. "This has everything: chats, video, names, even the phone call with Chief Randall. If anything happens to me, you get this to the U.S. Attorney." "Don't talk like that, Ryan. We're in this too deep to play it safe now." Just then an explosion rocked the back of the building. Smoke poured into the hall. Trent started laughing. "You think I came alone? Chief sent 4 of us. You caught one. You're already outnumbered." Ryan's heart pounded. "Then let's level the odds." They activated the smoke alarm, flooding the building with piercing sound and sprinklers. The confusion bought them a few minutes. Ryan and Cole moved quickly through the back corridors to the secured server room, where the last of their surveillance data was stored. 2 men were inside trying to destroy the machines. Ryan grabbed a fire extinguisher, charged in, and sprayed the room blindly. Amid the chaos, Cole grabbed a backup drive, tucked it into his coat, and smashed the fire alarm again, triggering a backup security lock that sealed the room. Sirens wailed in the distance. "Fire department. Police. Maybe both." "We're not out yet," Cole said as they ran to the front. "They'll twist this into an attack. They'll say we fabricated it all. Then we show them this." Ryan pulled out a tablet synced to the hidden cloud account, showing the damning footage of Chief Randall speaking to the mayor's aide about silencing Darion and framing him. The evidence was irrefutable. But they never got the chance to play it. As they stepped into the lobby, they were met with a wall of SWAT officers pointing rifles. "Down on the ground," one shouted. "Now." Ryan and Cole froze, slowly kneeling, hands raised, as the SWAT team stormed in and yanked their arms behind their backs. "You're under arrest for obstruction of justice and tampering with evidence." Ryan's eyes went wide. "What? We're the ones who—" But his words were cut off by a knee to the back and the cold slam of cuffs. One of the SWAT officers whispered, "You should have stayed quiet, Coulson." As they were dragged out into the rain, the press was already outside. Cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions, none of them knowing the real story. Trent, bruised but smirking, was escorted out the side door by an unmarked police car. Ryan looked up from the squad car and saw Darion watching from the sidewalk, his fists clenched, jaw tight. Their eyes met and Ryan mouthed one word, "Run." That night, Dr. Cole and Ryan were booked into county jail. No phone calls. No lawyer. No rights. Just silence. Until a knock on the cell door woke them. A woman in a sharp blue suit, flanked by 2 federal agents, stood there with a grim smile. "My name is Special Agent Valerie Monroe with the Department of Justice. We intercepted the call Ryan Carlson recorded. We've seen the evidence. And we're about to blow this department wide open." Cole's eyes widened. "Then what are we still doing in this cage?" "Because the mayor just declared a city-wide state of emergency. They've locked down the courts. Judges are compromised. Evidence is being destroyed as we speak." Ryan stood face pale. "So what do we do now?" Agent Monroe narrowed her eyes. "We disappear. We go underground. And we expose them from the outside." But just as they stepped into the corridor, gunfire erupted down the hallway. Monroe ducked and shoved them both behind cover. "They found us," she said, pulling her weapon. "And they're not letting anyone out alive." Gunfire tore through the hallway of the county jail like a thunderclap as Agent Valerie Monroe shoved Ryan and Dr. Cole behind a concrete support beam. Bullets ripped chunks out of the walls, sparks flying with every impact. "They're wiping us out," she shouted over the noise, returning fire as a tactical team in black armor advanced through the corridor. "They've corrupted local law enforcement, the courts, the mayor's office. We have to get you out of here or everything burns with you." Ryan's heart pounded in his chest as he pulled Dr. Cole to his feet. "There's a service tunnel under the holding cells," Dr. Cole remembered. "Leads to the old generator room. They never sealed it after the expansion project." Monroe nodded. "Lead the way." With covering fire from Monroe, they sprinted down a side hall, ducking under swinging lights and sirens that howled like a city on fire. Reaching a rusted maintenance door, Ryan shoulder-checked it open, and the trio slipped into a forgotten underworld of pipes, dust, and darkness. As they crept through the narrow tunnel, Ryan's thoughts were spinning. About the homeless man he once was mistaken for, about Darion's unjust arrest, about the lies stacked like bricks around every corner of the city. "They won't stop," he muttered. "Even if we make it out, they'll smear us, hunt us, silence us." "Not if we hit them first," Monroe said. "We've been building a federal case. What you brought us tonight, surveillance, recordings, internal memos, it ties Chief Randall to an entire web of corruption, even a judge who's been taking kickbacks to jail black men without cause." "So what do we do?" Cole asked. "We go public," Monroe said. "All of it. Not just to the feds. We take it to the people." Emerging through a storm grate into an alleyway soaked with midnight rain, they climbed into an unmarked SUV driven by Monroe's partner. "We've got a safe house set up in D.C. It's protected by a whistleblower network and civil rights attorneys who aren't on the city's payroll." The drive was tense. Every light seemed to flash a little too long. Every shadow looked like another officer ready to stop them. But they made it to a bunker-style brownstone on the outskirts of D.C., where tech teams and lawyers were already assembled. Ryan and Cole spent the next 36 hours recounting every detail, handing over files, submitting statements, while Monroe's team uploaded footage to encrypted servers and news outlets. Within 2 days the internet exploded. Hidden body cam footage of Darion's brutal arrest. Audio of Chief Randall ordering a cover-up. Internal chats between officers laughing about falsifying reports. A video of Trent Miller in the Cole Center trying to destroy servers. And most damning of all, Mayor Kensington discussing payouts to keep things buried. The media storm was instant. Protesters flooded the streets. Civil rights organizations demanded resignations. Within a week, the DOJ announced indictments. Chief Randall, Mayor Kensington for judges and over a dozen officers. But there was a price. Darion, who had gone into hiding, was nearly killed in a staged car accident days before the news broke. Only a good Samaritan pulling him from the wreckage saved his life. Dr. Cole was suspended pending review, but the public rallied for his reinstatement. Ryan? He became the face of the movement. Once mocked for looking homeless, now he stood before Congress, testifying about systemic abuse, police misconduct, and the power of speaking up even when no one's listening. During his speech, Ryan said, When that officer looked at me and saw nothing but a homeless black man, he didn't see a person. He saw a stereotype. But people aren't statistics. We're human beings, with stories, with value, with the right to live without fear. The courtroom erupted in applause. Trent Miller was sentenced to 25 years. Chief Randall was convicted on federal conspiracy charges. The city's police department underwent full federal oversight. A new independent review board was established to monitor racial bias and use of force. And the Cole Center? Rebuilt from the ashes, renamed the Darion Justice Center in honor of the man whose false arrest sparked a fire they could never put out. In the months that followed, Ryan continued his work, not as a lawyer, not as a soldier, but as a man determined to make change. He visited high schools, led workshops on civil rights, and helped build a national network for wrongly accused individuals to find justice. And every time he walked into a room, clean-cut or rugged from travel, people listened. Because he had become a symbol of resilience. Proof that even when the system tries to silence you, truth still has a voice. 1 year later, he returned to the exact street corner where it all began, where Officer Trent mocked him for looking too homeless to belong. He wore the same hoodie, same backpack. But this time he wasn't alone. Darion stood beside him. Dr. Cole, Valerie Monroe, community leaders, dozens of supporters. And there, in the shadow of the courthouse, Ryan gave a speech that would echo across the country. I stood here a year ago judged by the color of my skin and the clothes I wore. But I'm still standing. Not because I proved them wrong, but because I refused to be broken. They saw a man to discard. I became a man who couldn't be ignored. The crowd roared. And as the sun set over a city still healing, one thing was certain. Change was no longer a whisper. It was a roar. The end. Never judge someone by their appearance. The person you dismissed today may hold the key to justice tomorrow. Racism, corruption, and silence go hand in hand, but so do truth, courage, and accountability. In a world that tries to bury the truth, sometimes the most powerful voices are the ones they tried hardest to silence. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths.